Hello everyone, and welcome to this synopsis. This synopsis as part of the Ghromulin series. This audio podcast synopsis is part of the as part of a Photon Saga, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Lobostics production. In this audio podcast synopsis, looking at looking at sort of retrospective looking at retrospective works from in around 2000 and 2008 in around 2000 2008 early 2009, and looking at this series works in around works in regard to a theme in around in around what's referred to in literature as ischaemic-reperfusion, ischaemic reperfusion injury. And so in this audio podcast synopsis, a sort of a look at a sort of an overview as part of this anticipated series. So timely reperfusion of ischaemic tissue is prerequisite to improve outcomes of and in around cardiovascular and cardiovascular-like conditions. But paradoxically, reperfusion also causes injury to tissues. So this concept is referred to as ischaemic ischaemic reperfusion injury, and investigations have thrived to better understand ischaemic reperfusion injury, or IR injury, and develop sort of novel pharmacotherapies to minimize this. One such approach has been termed ischaemic preconditioning, IPC, which entails sort of brief periods of alternating ischemia and reperfusion before sort of a prolonged duration of a prolonged duration of index ischemia. At the same time, endogenous opioid peptides, or EOPs, are thought to play a basis in ischaemic preconditioning, or IPC. So the aims in around this works in this works and in as part of this and in this and in as part of this audio podcast series will be where looking at sort of a human forearm model of IR injury, ischemic reperfusion injury. The works this works The works, or the theme of works, or the theme in around this audio podcast series will look at works that assess the effect of non-selective opioid receptor antagonist, antagonist naloxone being a particular opioid receptor antagonist pharmacotherapy, on protection by ischemic preconditioning, or IPC. In addition, plasma concentrations of endogenous opioid of the at the same time in addition, plasma concentrations of the opioid receptor of the endogenous opioid beta endorphin were sort of will be sort of looked at to assess the sort of the to assess and to understand the plasma concentrations during an IPC stimulus. So as part of this works the methodology. As part of this works and the methodology. So the role of opioid receptor blockade, naloxone, in ischaemic preconditioning on healthy volunteers was determined, and flow-mediated dilatation (FMD) of the brachial artery was measured by ultrasound to determine endothelial or IR injury. And so using using a particular laboratory assay, using a particular laboratory assay enzyme, the enzyme linked to immunosorbent assay or ELISA assay, beta endorphin was quantified to establish whether it has a local effect to induce the protection during protection during IR injury. Then around some of the analysis, and obviously this audio podcast series will delve into some of the analysis in a bit more in some further detail. However, to iterate, as part of this synopsis, IR injury caused IR injury caused by caused endothelial that caused endothelial dysfunction caused endothelial dysfunction, and naloxone did not have did not affect the protective basis of IPC against endothelial IR injury. At the same time, the plasma concentrations and plasma concentration beta endorphin remained unchanged during an IPC stimulus. Part of the conclusion in this and as part of this Ghromulin series. This Ghromulin series is that the protective effects of IPC were not abolished by naloxone, and plasma concentration of beta endorphin beta endorphin did not change the response to the protective stimulus. And so what had been, additionally what had been determined at least in part, is that further investigations are required to establish the effects of beta endorphin plasma concentrations in around IPC and in IPC in around cardiovascular and cardiovascular-like conditions. So that draws this audio podcast synopsis to a close. This audio podcast synopsis as part of the Ghromulin series. This audio podcast synopsis as part of the Photon Saga, and this audio podcast series as part of a Storm Robotics production.